Okay, good morning, Australian Veteran News viewers, and I'd like to welcome Sean Lean, the Minister for Veterans of Victoria, once again to Australian Veteran News. Thank you for making some time in your schedule to speak with us again today.
It's my pleasure, Mark, and keep the good work. It's fantastic, and I always watch anything you put out. So,
very kind. Shucks. All right. So look, let's. I think the two things that I'm hoping we might have a chat about today over the next 15 minutes or so is, first of all, the Victorian public sector veteran employment strategy, which I was very lucky to go to the launch to late last month, and it was well represented by industry and also government folk there willing to support and provide assistance and information about the program. But I think it's obviously something that's, the more people know about it, the better. And it'd be great to get a little bit more information from you. What do you see as the key features of that employment strategy?
Yeah, look, I suppose if you don't mind, Mark, just a bit of brief background. When I first came in this position, and I took to the cabinet that we could do some really good work in partnership with other portfolios, around travel, employment, housing, mental health, and a lot of areas that, after I had discussions with a number of veterans groups, including yourself, about ex-servicemen and women are looking from the state government for some real tangible support and outcome. So I decided in the employment side that to pull together some really clever people from the veterans community and skills, if they sort of formed a bit of a round table to advise me if we could put out a relatively simple document to private sector around sort of matrixing the titles that servicemen and women get in the Defence Force, and comparing it to the private sector job titles, which is, I think it's been, I spoke to an ex-service woman at one of the RSL branches only a couple of weeks ago, and she said it's been like that for 40 years. It's been confusing, and I've got to say, Mark, that fantastic work by that group, but it was still really confusing. So I apologise for that. So I thought the best way to go about it is to keep things pretty simple for employers. The way I see it is, some of the high-level employers, you can get 5 minutes with them to pitch something like this. So from that work that group did, and it was chaired by Joe Mullaney, as I said, from Legacy, who's a great asset because of her background in skills as well. I thought, well, maybe we are going about this all, making it a bit too hard for employers. As I said, you only get a short period of time with them, and so, why don't we just advertise the great attributes veterans bring, as in, they work fantastic in a team. Health and safety is excellent. They're punctual. They don't get all upset if you ask them to do something. They're actually, and as you know, Mark, I think ex-servicemen and women are assets, and we want them in Victoria. So, so I thought maybe, and we did do a bit of a search in other jurisdictions about, maybe there's just some sort of easy website for employers and ex-servicemen and women to use when it comes to employment. And we struggled a little bit there. And the advice I got from a number of people, a number of veterans, was in particular David McLaughlin, who does a great job in the public sector employment area, is for us to just create our own. So formed a great partnership with Jayla Pulford and Skills Victoria, and they've produced basically a link to One Employment Victoria's website, which is tailored in particular to veterans. So employers can put expressions of interest of positions vacant, positions available, that they want to prioritise veterans and their family members. So we kind of broke down, we broke down the, trying to do the matrix about what position may coincide to another position, and we're just saying that, if you're looking for an expert in water, if you're looking for an expert in IT,
Mm.
If you're looking at an expert in logistics, if you're looking for an expert in building, like any type of skill, people in the services have got. So when they're coming out, private sector should be snapping them up. So we had a great event. Thanks for coming a couple of weeks ago. Hotel Industry Association hosted it. Vicky were there. Local government professionals who represent the whole local government sector. A number of different employer groups that just can't. What basically when I was talking to them, the VFF as well. Basically when I was talking to them about this, they just couldn't wait. They just couldn't wait for it to be able to do it. So the simple premise is that this link at Jobs Victoria website, anyone can peruse. So if you're a veteran or family member, you can see what jobs have been posted up there. To apply, you just have to register, and it's very simple, and your details, of course, are protected. And then I thought, like, we're cutting, there's no fee, it's for free. We're cutting out, you don't have to go for a middle person. You can look at your own leisure. We reckon, I've got a goal that there's going to be more jobs are posted on there than there's going to be ex-servicemen and women looking for jobs. And that's our goal. So, so we went from basically, I think, getting back to, you only get 5 minutes with some employers, and they've always got to leave them in action. And so this is the action. They can speak to their employment officer and say, we've got, like Lindsay Fox has got, 10 jobs for heavy vehicle drivers. Just put them up there, and someone who, an ex-serviceman and woman that's, got that skill might say, oh, I might apply. So we've kind of made it really simple, free, and I'm really hoping that it's really helpful for Victorian servicemen and women. And Mark, basically as well, I think we get about 500 people coming out of the Defence Forces in Victoria a year. I wanted to turn it to 1,000 plus, because they're assets in Victoria. We want them and we need them.
It's excellent, Sean. I think there's a little bit more to the program as well, which maybe you might elaborate on, but I really like the idea that you've moved away from trying to do the translation model, which is fraught with difficulties, as we've learned in so many areas, and in particularly employment. It can be quite problematic, because there are certainly many other aspects to people's lives than what their last job was or what qualification they happened to get when they were a young person. But I really like the way it's focused on the attributes, and you've encapsulated those quite well in terms of I'm just looking at the brochure here: respected, experienced, dedicated, exceptional, and they're all justified in a range of other little elements to it. So I do encourage people to go and have a look at that website, and we'll include a link to that with this video. But what are the in addition to that, though, Minister, what are the incentives for employers to get on this into this program and use the service?
Yeah, thanks, Mark. And there's a number of things that Jobs Victoria have tailored through their assistance in making sure ex-servicemen and women are gainfully employed. One of them, and can I give credit to Minister Jayla Fulford again? This is great work from her, but employers can access up to $20,000 in wage subsidy for employing a veteran.
That's a $20,000 wage subsidy.
Yeah. And there's a bit of a scale, Mark. There's other $10,000 subsidies, depending on someone's the position they're in at the time. But this is
it's a serious commitment, though.
Well, kind of going back to, this is, employers are falling over themselves to just look at the employing veterans, and then, if you've employed someone and you get a subsidy, you have to employ that person for 12 months. It has to be a 12 months commitment, and I think that's only fair. But we found, I've had anecdotal conversations with employers that have employed veterans and said that they'd love to employ 100 more after having them for 12 months.
And I think it goes back to the attributes, not to the formal skills and qualifications that we talked about before. Yeah.
And it's interesting speaking to employers and peak bodies. a lot of them are saying that's what they want. They want the attributes and they'll work with. And that, employers are happy to, if there needs to be some gap training or whatever to get to that, private sector, qualification or whatever it is, look, they'll pay for it. They're not, they're going to get a fantastic, loyal employee. So, myself and Jala, we're really happy with the outcome of this. And great advice. And Mark, can I just give a shout out to some of the people in the veterans community? I gave a shout out to Joe Mullaney, but Ian Finlay from TPI, he's just been, as far as his links with employers, and that's been fantastic. I mentioned David McLaughlin, Major General David McLaughlin, I should say, who's been, just like his advice has been fantastic, particularly, when he said to me to just, do our own thing and keep it simple. And he was 100% right.
Yeah.
And Glenn Ferraro, I know he's got a link with RSL and other places, but he's really good in this employment space, and he's been, a great asset. So we've got like people in the sector. There's a lot of really good, smart people that that have been a great assistance, and I wouldn't know where to start without them.
Yeah, they are a terrific group of people you just mentioned, and I happen to know pretty much all of them now, and I think they really have done an exceptional job. And I must say, I think David McLaughlin is very, very wise counsel in the background, the public sector, allowing that to sort of leak out into the into a broader program, which is probably going against some of his KPIs, I suspect, but I think he's glad to do it from all accounts.
And if you don't mind, Adam, Mark, Commodore Greg York, who's recently become the chair of the Victorian
Fantastic.
Government, he's got a passion in this area, and I caught up with him yesterday at an event, and he's already been working with the federal side of transition, and so has Glenn and others around, I think that it'd be a great tool for them as well.
So it's more than just employment, though, isn't it? I mean, there are benefits to the state that you've mentioned. We need our employers here in Victoria are seeking veterans. There's competition nationally for good employees. But one of the other things we know is that employment is a key that unlocks a lot of other areas to support well-being.
Yeah,
and it is one of the key things and one of the key concerns that many veterans have, especially when they're going through that initial transition. But also, there's a bit of a delayed effect sometimes where they realise they're in the wrong place, doing the wrong thing, and they need to make another transition. And with a bit more hindsight, that's available to them as well, isn't it? This service.
Of course. And look. It's been a long time since someone held one job for their whole career. People move around, and rightly so. And so, of course, that I'd encourage any ex-servicemen and women, veterans that like I've actually spoken to a few that says that they're actually gainfully employed at the moment, but they said they're going to keep looking because you just never know. And that's only of course that's only fair. So it's like I said, we're really happy with the outcome. I've still got a bit of work to work with employers, work with ESOs, work with people like yourself, get the word out there. We want veterans to go through the VVC website, get into this link, and hopefully it's helpful.
So there are a lot of employment initiatives that have emerged recently. So there's going to have to be an effort to get the word out, because this is a very good initiative in terms of what it's offering employers and veterans as well. And as you said, it cuts out the middle person, I guess you'd say these days, from the process. But it also gives people an opportunity to connect in with what's going on in Victoria. And I think one of the things that I was hoping we might spend a little bit of time talking about, Minister, is the Victorian Veterans Family Service that's recently been announced. And I think it's a nice little adjunct to this, even though it's quite different. Can you tell us what that's about and how it came about?
It's a partnership. It's a partnership with Legacy, and it was my conversation with Legacy and others in the veterans community is that it's been identified that there could be a gap as far as supporting particularly family members, veterans as well, of course, particularly family members during the course of the Royal Commission into Defence and veteran suicide. So yeah, a great conversation between myself and Legacy. And to Legacy's credit, they've matched the $500,000 that state government has supplied to them to, amongst a lot of other things, to employ a couple of extra personnel that can work with the families. And I bumped into a couple of people from Legacy Management a few weeks ago, and they're delighted with who they've recruited. I actually met one, some really impressive people. So, you know, I think it's just that, you know, making sure that that gap gets filled, that there's people out there working, you know, with different individuals to make sure that they're okay during this very important period.
The impressive thing for me on this program is that it's research informed in a lot of ways. So there's that a peer support element to it, and the employees that you're talking about are the veteran liaison officers, which are veterans themselves and have the experience and you know, understand and can communicate very clearly with those speaking to them, either family members or veterans. So it's quite an important initiative.
It's absolutely important. I mean, you know, even I would say in the department, you know, the department that I work with, the Office of Veterans, you know, our recent appointment as a director is a veteran, and it makes a huge, you know, like, of course it makes a huge difference, and we're really lucky to have him. So I really understand that, you know, as I said to you before, Mark, look, I'm not a veteran. I'm not an ex-service. I'm not an ex-service personnel. You know, you guys know exactly, you know, what veterans think, and I always respect that. So I think this is, you know, great work by Legacy. I think, you know, Royal Commission has added an extra year, as you know. But there's apparently an interim report sometime later this year.
Due in August, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I was really fortunate, along with a couple of other veterans ministers from other states, to have a conversation with the commissioners not long ago. You know, I'm actually feeling quite positive. I think that, you know, the themes they've picked up, I would agree that that's what Victorian veterans are saying to me.
Yeah.
And I think they're on a, you know, I think they're going in the right direction. But in saying that, you know, it's, you know, even some of the people that work with me that are following the hearings, it's really hard going. And so, you know, like people with really, you know, personal invested interest, it must be really hard. So I can't give Legacy credit enough. I know, you know, other ESOs, RSL, and other ESOs are doing great work in this area as well, and it's really important.
Well, thanks very much, Minister. It's very enlightening just to see that brief catch up. There's so much has happened since last time we spoke, and it wasn't that long ago. And you've really taken the bit in the teeth on that one. So thanks so much. Is there any final message you would like to put out to any veterans or family members considering coming to Victoria? That
we 100% know that you're assets and we want you. So come here and we'll make sure you do a job.
Fantastic. Thanks very much, Minister, and I hope you have a good day.
Thank you, Mark. See you later.
Cheers.